Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Jim Darr's ToneShifter channel, where we show you how to take any guitar and make it sound and play better. So join me in the Guitar Cabin, our musical sanctuary from day-to-day life, as we explore another really cool guitar project. I'm excited. Let's get to it. Well, welcome back, my friends, to the Guitar Cabin, where today we're not going to do a project, but we're going to talk about a process. That is, when you go in to look for a guitar, what should or what shouldn't you look at? How should you decide which one's best for you? Whether you're a beginner or an expert player, these all apply regardless of your skill level. So a lot of times I'll walk into a guitar store and I'll just feel the neck. And I'll know immediately, yeah, that one's pretty good. Let me try this one over here. Nope, that doesn't cut it. What about this one? Nope, that doesn't cut it. Whoa, wait a minute. Maybe it does. Maybe I should play that one. Or do I take a look over here at this one? It can be tremendously, what's the right word? Potentially at a store you can feel like you're under a lot of pressure from your friends that are with you, to the salespeople that are hoping to make that commission sale, and or if there's incentive for them to push a certain type of guitar, they might be pushing that type of guitar. But how do you pick a guitar for you? Well, today we're going to talk about the 10 essentials for any guitarist in picking a guitar. The first is the neck must feel good, just like I was talking about. You've got to go up and down. I don't even play things. I just kind of put my hand on it. I look for the nut width, the width here, the thickness, the profile, whether it be what's called a C shape or a D shape, which is kind of got a flat back to it, or V shape, which is kind of like a V. All of these things are important to consider when you're picking your guitar. Now, what's right for me might be totally wrong for you. I've got big hands. I used to like a 25.5-inch scale. Then I've gone down to a 25-inch scale or a 24.75-inch scale. So the scale length is important too. People tend to categorize the necks as, you know, it's a baseball bat neck. It's a 50s carve to it. It's a Fender 62, 63 carve to it. But what's most important is, how does it feel? If it doesn't feel right for you, then don't get it. Know what they're talking about. This is what's called a wide fat neck. It's not so wide. It's the same as a Gibson about. And it's not so deep. It's more like a 60s Gibson profile, I would say, as opposed to a fat thin, which is the same directions here for this particular brand, and not as thick here and not as thick here, with a slightly different profile. So fret size is also important. As you become a little more advanced in your playing, you'll have your favorite size frets. I like a nice medium fret. Some people like jumbo frets. Some people like 60s Fender style frets. All over the board, but be aware of that when picking the guitar. If it doesn't feel right in your hand when you're mock playing it, it's not going to be right. And I just say, next, move on to the next guitar. So let's recap. What's important is the neck profile, the shape, size, the scale length, the frets, the radius, which is the curvature of the top of the neck, what the fingerboard material is, whether it's finished or oiled or unfinished, the scale length, but again, gotta feel comfortable to you. If it doesn't feel comfortable to you, put it back on the rack. The next thing we're going to talk about, and this gets a little convoluted, so I want to break this down into a couple different sections. A lot of people talk about the action. The action is really the string height, usually defined at the 12th fret. String height has to be such and the way it's set, by adjusting the bridge up and down, you want to get it as low as possible before the frets and the strings start buzzing. Then you want to raise it up a hair. Now, that's assuming that you've got a straight neck. And a straight neck or a slightly bowed, front bowed neck is okay, slightly. So the way you do it is you fret at the where the neck joins the body, and at the first fret, and you can see this has a slight curve to it because it's a straight line on the string from where I have it depressed on both sides. I just walk my hands down it, and it all should be the same bow. If it's relatively flat on one side and relatively bowed on the other side, that could be issues. Stay away from that guitar. On a setup like this, string height, overall string height is adjusted here and here. So that's what a lot of people call action, but you're also missing a couple of issues that really come into play that give you the true feel of the instrument. The intonation. When I fret this note and fret this note, it should sound the same except an octave higher. If it's off, the intonation's off. You adjust the intonation two ways. You can adjust these saddles back and forward. Also, the nut action is important. If the nut is too high, you press the strings down, everything's going to play sharp. So you could get it in perfect open tune, play a cowboy chord like a D chord or a G chord or a C chord, and the thing will be horribly out of tune. But you come up here and it plays more in tune. So that's a puzzler in the sense that we're taking a look at the intonation. So in order to have the intonation be correct, I first adjust the nut down to the proper angle here, and I'll show you what I do. I fret here at the third fret, and then I see how much gap I have to the first fret. If I've got just a little bit of gap, maybe a business card, maybe 2 business cards worth, I do that by feel, to the point where I can have the action changed at the nut. I can have the action changed at the height of the bridge, and I adjust the intonation once I get this correct, the nut correct, and the overall height correct. I adjust the intonation by moving these saddles backward or forward, whether the string is relatively sharp or flat. I do it at the 12th fret, open and 12th fret. I do it at the 1st fret and 13th fret. I also will play some notes in here to make sure that they're in proper intonation pitch as well. So action string height is adjusted this way. It's only part of the equation. Playing in tune with the bridge intonation and the nut intonation. The whole goal is to have the guitar play in tune. So when I adjust the overall height here, and I have the correct nut slot here for the strings, I can then adjust the individual saddles either sharp or flat depending upon where I am on the string. Now if I change gauge strings, I have to readjust this. I can typically leave everything else the same. But also you are going to want to pick a guitar that has an easy truss rod adjustment. So the neck's got to feel good, the string height has to be playable with what your type of playing is like. It has to play in tune all the way up and down the fingerboard. If it doesn't do any of that, I'm not going to take it home. If I know by my ear, which is not so good, that the guitar is reasonably in tune, I may take a chance and take it home to see what we can do with it. That brings us to staying in tune. Once I've got the guitar tuned up, the strings stretched, I want the guitar to stay in tune. I don't want the tuners to be sloppy. I don't want the bridge to move around. I don't want the neck to bend this way or stretch this way. I don't want the strings being bound in here. If I pull a chord up or pull a string up, a note up, and then have it get bound here. And if this were a different style bridge, I don't want it to get bound here as well. But here it's not that much of a factor. If the nut slot's too tight, you're going to hear this. You could tuning up, you hear a clicking sound and releases itself. Typically when that happens, the string needs to be lubed here, or the slots are a little too tight. So you would have to take it to somebody to have that fixed. So I want the tuners not to be jumpy, and you can put a chromatic tuner on it and tune it up, and it should be nice and smooth. If it jumps and jumps and jumps, then your tuners are bad, or the nut again is binding up. The string height's got to be good. The guitar's got to play in tune or be intonated up and down the neck. It's got to stay in tune. And this is probably one of the most important aspects. The guitar must feel good to you. If I'm playing a guitar and it's dead sounding, it's not going to sound any better amplified. A dead sounding guitar acoustically with an amplifier on it, still going to be a dead sounding guitar. So I want one that feels balanced, is resonant, fits my size. I'm a big guy. It fits my size pretty well. The weight's got to be, I'm liking lighter guitars, like under 7 pounds now. That's why these PRS and the Melody Maker and Epiphone Olympics are so desirable for me, because they're so light and they're very resonant and very balanced. But the shape needs to be aesthetically appealing. But overall, if it sounds good acoustically to you, sounds articulate, has good string-to-string separation, or if you can feel it vibrate against your chest, that's a good lively guitar. The next is the electronics, whether it be single coil, humbucking like this, P90s. You need to decide what you want. You don't always know when you're just starting out. So a good thing to do is to take a look at some of the guitars whose sound you like. See what if you got a single coil pickup, a Strat pickup, a Tele pickup, a Gibson P90, a humbucking pickup, and then look for a guitar similar to that to get the sound that you want. You should also be aware of passive versus active. Active means there's some type of an electronics, like a preamp in the guitar, embedded in the guitar, and it tailors the tone, acting like an equalizer or a treble boost or a treble cut or a mid boost or a mid cut or a bass boost or a bass cut, or somewhere in between there for active electronics, so you can dial in the sound that you want. Potentiometers have to be good quality so they're not scratchy and don't wear out on you. Switches have to be a decent switch so it's not clicking each time or clunking each time or crackling each time you use it. So the neck's got to feel good and comfortable in your hands. The action or string height's got to be what you like it to be. And if you're just starting out, take a friend along that's experienced and that you admire their playing, and that person can help guide you through the process. The other things to take a look at: string height, playing in tune is absolutely must. Staying in tune is absolutely must. Guitar's got to feel good to you. Electronics have to be what you're looking for. The next thing is have a budget. A budget for the guitar, a budget for a case, a budget for a gig bag, accessories, pedals, so on and so forth. Have a budget and stick to it. Don't get drawn into the endless quest for tone where you'll be spending thousands of dollars on something unless you're at that point in that stage when it makes sense. Another thing with the budget, I may mention this, is cords. You want a good quality cord, not one that's going to crackle. Next is consider used versus new. Just like anything else, if you buy something new, the minute you walk out the door, in most cases, you'll experience depreciation. This guitar used may have already been set up, may have spent a couple $100 setting it up. They may have added high quality boutique pickups to it. They may have done some mods to the machine heads, put it in a bone nut. This is a Tone Pros bridge as an example, so this is an upgrade. This is a $120 upgrade. And it sounds good, sounds great. So consider used versus new. If something's going to happen to the guitar, it probably already has, and the person's probably already tackled it. Look for any types of cracks or repairs. Understand clearly what the store's return policy is. A lot of stores will give you a certain amount of time in order to bring it back for either a refund or a store credit. Again, if there's something wrong with the guitar that wasn't disclosed, that's grounds to bring it back, to either renegotiate a lower price or to return it outright without any penalty to you. And the mods could be in your favor. Does the guitar look good to you? Aesthetically, the color, the shape, the size, the balance sitting down, the balance on a strap. Does it, do you normally rest your finger and pick? Do you have room to do that? All the stuff that once you become a little more experienced, you'll say, yeah, that guitar looks good. And it not only looks good, I think I'll look good playing it. Not that I'll necessarily sound any better, but it might just look good, at least in my own mind. And then this is probably, other than the first couple, the most important one. Does the guitar call to you? Now, what do I mean by that? Well, do you start playing and all of a sudden you go, oh, it's been an hour. I just thought I sat down 5 minutes ago. Do you play something and go, wow, where did that come from? I've never played anything like that before. Or you start noodling around with chords and you come up with some new chord progressions for you, or maybe even some inversions that you go, I don't know where that came from. It must be in this guitar and I'm its vessel to be released to the cosmos or something. But, does it make you play longer? Does it encourage you to try new things? Do you play for hours and get lost in time? All those things are really important. So let's recap, if we would. The 10 things to know and look for, the 10 essentials of guitar buying. 1, the neck's gotta feel good and comfortable in your hands. 2, the action or the string height must be at a point where that's reasonable to your style of playing. Now, if you don't have a style of playing, I would have it set up so it's kind of a medium setup there. Does it play in tune? Up here, down here, all over the fingerboard, a guitar should play in tune. Does it stay in tune? Once you've got it in tune and you start playing it, if it goes way out of tune all the time, you got problems with the tuners. You may have a nut that's binding, the strings are binding on it. So that's very important as well. The guitar's got to feel good to you. It's got to make you feel that you want to play it more, that you want to embrace it more, that you want to spend more time practicing, that you want to try new scales. The electronics, understand the type of electronics you're going to be selecting, whether it be single coil humbucking or a combination, you know, H single single or single 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 or H H H or the other way around, H single single. The combinations are endless. Have a budget and stick to it. It's important. You could very easily find yourself underwater laboring in guitar debt. And chances are, if you stick with this for any length of time, you're going to have more than one guitar. So have a budget, know what the budget is, stick to it. Consider used versus new. It'll make your dollar go farther. Some expensive mods and setups could already have been done to the guitar. Number 9, does the guitar look good to you? Aesthetically, the color. I hated green guitars. Now I kind of like them. You know, I always admired a natural finish guitar. Still do. Sunbursts are always cool. I like different colors. But the guitar's gotta have the right aesthetic appeal to you. And does the guitar call to you? Does the guitar make you a better player? Does it have melodies and songs in it that just haven't been harvested yet by you? So whether you're an experienced player or not, it's something to consider. So those are the 10 essential things that I consider, that I think every guitarist should consider. But a word of caution, if you're going into a guitar store, be careful what the people are trying to push you into, and always try to negotiate if you can. And if there's, you know, they've got to make money, they've got to make a profit, they've got to make a living, they've got to pay their staff, they've got to pay their bills, they've got to pay their utilities. But it doesn't hurt to see if you can't get a discount. Work something out with them. Maybe you've got a trade. Anyway, I hope this has been useful. Please ring the bell, subscribe, comment. Love your comments. Keep them coming. Share. And be safe, be kind, beware. Till next time. And a big shout out to our fan in Poughkeepsie, New York. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your input. We really appreciate it. Stay safe, stay warm. And remember, we make pickups.